Do not turn the channel. You are in the right place. I am Vincent-Tennell, the host of the titled Vincent-Tennell Show. I have the most exquisite guest here with us today, Nancy Huntley of the Lincoln Library, Springfield. Thank you for coming today. I'm so glad you're here.
Thank you.
Because I've always been a library card holder ever since I was like 5 years old. Recently, I went in all these renovations and I was blown away. And that's why I invited you here today. I don't think people really know what the library has to offer in 2014, going into 2015.
Right.
First, I want to start off with, why did the East and West branch divisions close?
Okay, back in 2009, 2010, the library and the city as a whole were facing some financial difficulties. And we had to make some decisions about how we could cut our budget, basically. So what we did is our biggest expense is personnel, employees. And so we cut 20 positions, some through layoffs, some through vacancies. That took our staff down to 41 people. And that's simply not enough to open 3 locations. So when we looked at our statistics, we noticed that, of course, that most people were coming to the main library. The branch libraries had their loyal supporters, of course, in their communities, but 80%, I believe, 75% of our business was at the main library. So rather than, we couldn't close the main library, so we closed the satellite branches. And it was very difficult, and I know it's very difficult for the community because they definitely served a purpose.
Yes, yes. I always went to the East Branch one. But you know, downtown is cool too because they have the new renovations. Since you closed the other 2, is that what made you want to do renovations at the main one?
Well, we wanted to renovate because the library is over almost 40 years old, and we had the original carpeting, just for an example. And it's changed. In 1977, when the library opened, it was primarily books and magazines. But now, with technology, we needed more space for public computers, more space for DVDs, audiobooks, and the CDs. So we were fortunate enough to get a major gift from the DeFreitas Foundation, a family, Joe and Rose DeFreitas, which allowed us to recarpet and renovate the 2nd floor and to add some small meeting rooms, which I think people really like, to add a reading room named in honor of the and to add a new computer lab for the public where we can do training.
All right. Homelessness is a big problem downtown. We know that. A lot of times we get a lot of the people who are homeless inside of the library. Never posed to be a threat to me. Was there some rules that had to be enforced as far as sleeping? Can they sleep in the library?
No one is allowed to sleep in the library. And we do try to, if we see someone sleeping, we do have 2 security officers. We'll ask them to wake up, stay awake, or go outside and take a little walk to refresh yourself. If it continues, though, and is a problem, we will ask them to leave for the day or longer. So there are rules against sleeping. There are rules against bringing in over bags. But there are rules against, disturbances, talking too loudly, all sorts of things.
The classic library rules.
The classic library rules, right. But as long as someone is following our rules, then they are allowed to stay in the building. And we have many people who come in every day. I don't know necessarily that they're homeless, but they come and spend the day. They'll read magazines, newspapers, books, and it's fine. They don't pose any problem. But there are always people in any public setting who could be a problem, and those are the people that we would ask to leave and may ask to leave for longer than a day.
All right. So is the CAP program still going strong?
Unfortunately, the CAP program was closed a couple of years ago, maybe a year and a half ago. It was a very good idea, and we had a strong CAP coordinator at one time. But when she left and we realized that the high schools were doing something similar with their college coaches, it seemed that we were not really attracting high school students, but we were really gearing some of our programs toward kids in age 7th and 8th grade to get them ready for high school, ready to take the classes they need to go to college. So it did, I think, for budget and personnel reasons, we ended up closing the CAP Center.
And just for those who don't know, what did CAP stand for?
CAP stood for College Assistance Program.
Right. I loved it because around the time it was started, I was getting ready for college.
Right.
So it worked for me. But and you still have like the materials to help people.
Yes, we do. And our reference librarians on the second floor can help people look for websites for scholarships and so on. What we don't have is that external element, going out and doing programs
Right.
and meeting with students on school grounds or churches and so forth.
What would you say is the biggest misconception about the library?
I would say the biggest misconception about the library is that there's no need for a library because we have the internet. And that's just absolutely not true. The internet is a wonderful tool, and it's a great tool if you know how to use it. Many people, though, do not have access at home. And so they're coming to the library for access to the internet. They're coming to the library to do job applications. They're coming to check their email because they don't have a computer or internet access at home. Also, our librarians know the best websites. Everyone who gets a diagnosis from a doctor, whatever it is, mild or severe, will go to the internet.
Right.
Well,
right.
you need to be careful where you're going, and you need to go to a reputable site, and that's one thing our librarians can help you with. Plus, we have a number of electronic resources that just would not be available to people at home. You can do genealogical research through Ancestry.com. We have a stupendous resource, which is a digital archive to the SJR, State Journal Register. It goes from the very beginning to about 1950 right now, and it's full text articles searchable by term. So if you want to know what happened at the Capillary Career Center, you could put that in and you can call up articles. Well, if they were here before 1950, pardon me, or after 1985, you could call up articles, and you won't have to go through, as we say, endless reels of microfilm to
Right.
search the SJR. It's all there for you. So those are the kinds of things that people can access from home with the library card, but perhaps wouldn't own at home. Not to mention we have consumer reports, we have GED and other test preps online. There's just a lot of resources, electronic resources now, that I think people could take advantage of.
You even have the rental ebooks now.
Oh yes, we do. You can download ebooks. We have two different, well, more than two, but two that primarily deal with fiction and popular books. One is Library on the Go, one Access 360. So you can book to your reader, your computer, or your phone, whatever you like to use, and it magically appears, and 2 weeks later it disappears,
Right.
and there's no overdues.
Well, that works.
Yes, that works really well. Not so much for us, but it works really well for them. Yes, those are the kinds of things people are looking for, I think. They're to access services from other than just the building.
I want to go back to what you said, the Ancestry.com is
Yes.
available. Now, I believe that's like a $300 subscription if you try to purchase it on your own.
Yes, I'm not sure of the price, but we have Ancestry.com, but it's one of those that our licensing agreement only allows customers to use it in the library.
In the library.
Right, right. I hope I'm correct about that. Well,
that makes sense.
check our website to be sure.
Because that brings people into the library, so that works.
Right.
I wanted to talk about, you can also order and pick up books. Like you can order on the website
Right.
and pick it up, almost like fast food does now.
Yeah,
Like it's
almost.
ready for you.
Almost. It's ready for you, but you do have to come into the library to pick it up.
Absolutely.
So you can request something, yes, anything, DVDs, CD, or books, magazines.
And I don't think people really know that your DVD collection, we're not talking about these are old movies. A lot of this stuff is new.
Right.
And the CD collection, up to date as well, I would say.
Yes.
I used to visit the library just to go to the magazine collection because Billboard was available.
Okay.
And Billboard, like Ancestry.com, that's like a $200 subscription if you want it yourself. So I would go there for those reasons that you really can't.
Right.
You can't beat. You can save money going to the library.
Yes.
I don't know why people would spend their own money when they can come there. That just baffles me. But you also have computer classes available.
Yes, we do.
Are they just for remedial cases, like beginner?
No, we still have many people who will take a beginner class in either searching the internet or email, but we are trying to add some more advanced programs. And we also offer help with downloading books, because once you get your new tablet or whatever
Right.
it is, sometimes it's difficult for some people to get onto our site and get to the book. So we'll do that for people. We'll help them with their device. And sometimes we'll have classes in Word, as something as simple as Word. Sometimes it'll be Publisher. there's just a lot of things that people would like to come in and learn a little more about. And we also use it for high school students. When they come in for tours, then we can have a whole group of them searching our catalog at one time without disrupting our public computers.
Absolutely. And you have the annual book sale,
Yes, we
which I
do.
live for. But you also have the bookstore available to purchase and buy items all year around as well.
Right.
Are you involved in the Kwanzaa celebration that used to happen there years ago?
No, we have not had Kwanzaa for a while either. I think when, with our hours being shortened and changes in the community and who leads the group, we have not really had a Kwanzaa celebration now that we've sponsored, but occasionally we have had an outside group come in. So it just sort of depends on the year.
Absolutely. Everybody is always so nice and friendly when I go there. Do you guys make them be like that, or you just have naturally friendly people? They just love their job.
Well, I think it's a little bit of both. We certainly want our employees to be nice and friendly and helpful. But I think librarians, when you choose that career, you probably are a people person.
Right.
You like to read, you like books, you like people, and you really want to share all that. I mean, I could talk for another hour about all the books I like, but you probably don't have time for all that.
Well, tell us what is on your book stand right now. What's on your nightstand?
Oh gosh, on my nightstand right now. Well, I'm reading Team of Rivals, so that's on my tablet. So it's not really on my nightstand. It goes around with me. But by Doris Kearns Goodwin, which I hadn't read, and it's been out for a while. I'm always reading more than one book, so I'm also reading a biography of Alexander Hamilton, which a friend recommended to me recently, but I'm only about 2 chapters into that. It's done with Team of Rivals. So
love biographies. So.
Yes, I do too.
Yeah.
So that's really, I tend to stray toward or a lot of mysteries.
Absolutely. I just wanted to give a shout out to Denise and Miss Linda. Those are my favorite librarians.
Great people. Both of them very nice and very friendly.
Now, don't tell the other ones. They'll think I'm being biased.
No, I won't.
Usually we give everybody on the show a book, but that's kind of redundant being that you work at the library. So we do have some chocolates.
Oh, thank you.
This is for you.
Thank you so much.
This pretty much concludes our interview. Is there anything I missed? Anything you wanted to say before we leave?
No, I just want to encourage people to come visit the library, take advantage of our electronic resources, whether it's job sites or school sites or just ebooks. Take advantage of our DVD collection because we do have a lot of movies. As soon as they come out in DVD, they're coming to us, and we try to get them cataloged and out there quickly. We have audiobooks too, and of course we didn't mention the children's department, which is another wonderful resource.
Yes. Everybody, go to the Lincoln Library, get a Lincoln Library card if you don't have one. All right. Good evening, Icons. We have a very special guest with us here today. We have Roy Williams, Jr. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good.
I'm so glad you're here.
Thank you for inviting me.
Now, you're a second-time guest.
Yes.
And I invited you back because this is my last season, as most people know. You were on the first season.
Yes.
But I did a little poll to see who was the best interviewer I had last year, and it was you.
Whoa.
Yes. I went to my family, friends, and coworkers, and all of them liked your interview the best. So I wanted to invite you back just to talk about regular, everyday things.
Okay.
And of course, hot topics. We know Ferguson. We'll get to that.
Sure.
All right.
Sure.
The first thing I want to start off with is, to you, what does it mean to be black?
What does it mean to be black? To being myself. I was born African American, and I accept that. And I grew into that, and I believe in holding on to my culture and just being myself as being black.
So, we have Raven-Symoné
Okay.
in her recent controversy. She went on the Oprah show stating she doesn't want to be labeled as African American. She doesn't have any roots in Africa. She cannot trace back what tribe she came from. Country in that continent, she would actually be able to say, this is my bloodline. So do you have an issue with that label? Have you ever had an issue with it?
Well, I'm one of those people who don't have issues with labels, period, because everything is a label. Being American is a label. Being male is a label. Being a son, an uncle, a brother, those are all labels. So that doesn't make you.
Okay.
So that's why I don't have problems with labels,
But can you understand why someone would have a problem with it?
Well, I hear people all the time say, the old Medea joke. I didn't come from Africa. I came up here in my Cadillac.
Right.
So that type of thing. So I guess I can understand people saying I can't relate to Africa because I've never been there.
Right.
So I'm American. I'm not an African American. But I just think America is a melting pot. So we have our Irish Americans. We have our different labels that we put on in front of American. But truly, we're just all Americans.
Do you believe there is a rift between African Americans and Africans?
I think that the ones who are away from the home country of the continent of Africa, I believe that we don't have the same experiences as the ones who were born and raised and lived in that continent. I think there is a difference in how we view the world.
Absolutely, because you hear it all the time, or I hear it a lot, that they don't like us, or they always have an attitude, or they look down upon us. So do you believe there is some validity there, or are we a bit paranoid?
I think it's misunderstandings. When I was in the hospital, we had some Africans who were, of course, studying in the medical field that came through my room, and as we talked, we grew up on each other, but the first thing I thought was, how arrogant. They're so arrogant.
Right.
But then I think that way about Asians too. So some of it is the difference in the language and the difference in the culture and just the way we express ourselves. So there's a lot of misunderstanding, I think, between Africans and then African Americans.
Absolutely.
Yes.
So we're living in a time where people are just saying, my generation is going to hell in a handbasket. We're generation X, Y, and Z. We don't have any role models.
Yeah.
Who is the most influential Black American living, in your opinion, currently living?
Oh, Barack Obama, hands down.
You think
For
so?
me, yes, because I knew him personally.
Okay.
I did my internship under the State Legislative Black Caucus. I got to know him, and I saw that intellect early on. So I always knew he was going somewhere. Now, I'll be honest, I didn't think it would be President of the United States, but I could see U.S. Senator easy, and I could see something special in him. So that's just the way he came off to me, and that's how he's had an impact in my life.
So you think that's been a good influence, or?
I think it's been a good influence because he's always preached being a good citizen, being a good American requires you to do the right thing all the time, no matter how hard it is. So regardless of race, religion, party politics, just do the right thing. And I find that to be true because I find that to be hard to do. But if you do it and practice it, more or less you're going to come out all right.
I'm not a fan of him.
Sure.
I'll be honest.
I can tell. I can tell. Why? No, well, I can tell though.
I just think he's very preachy to us, lectures to us as a race.
Well, he's a professor.
He speaks to everyone else.
Yeah.
Like we get the hammer, but everyone else he gets,
Okay.
compassion and pandering to.
Okay.
But maybe that's just us as a race because we know each other.
Sure.
So it's like
Sure.
your mom talking to you or your dad, they know you. So it may come off harsh.
Yeah.
But
Well, for me, he's younger than me, so I don't see it that way. When I was his intern, he was still younger than me, so I mean,
still like him.
yeah.
I don't like him, so
Yeah.
give me another person, please.
Another person.
Yes.
I would say my father.
Okay.
My father. Yeah.
Can't go wrong with that.
No, you can't. My grandfather's no longer here, so I'm saying my father.
So would you consider Beyonce a role model?
It depends on in what way. As do I want my little girl to grow up to look like her and be like her, that type of thing?
Have her shaking her butt on stage.
Now, that part, in an appropriate environment, maybe, but for the most part, I think not so much importance should be put on that. She's also a beautiful woman, so that part, yes,
I love Beyonce,
yeah.
but, there's a lot of people saying we should not look up to her. Why wouldn't we pick somebody else?
Well, I just think it's what the person is into, and as teens or young people, of course, they're going to go that way, like they go with the rappers and the NBA and the NFL, and why ain't they going with the doctors or, some of these other type occupations? It's just a part of transition of growing up, I think.
Right. A lot of older women will say they don't get Beyonce because she's endorsed by Pepsi and Cola products year round, and then she'll come out and do a with Michelle Obama, the Eating Healthy campaign. So it's like a conflict.
Yeah, it's all about money.
Yes.
They want to make the money all year round, I guess, I think she's a beautiful woman. I think she's talented. But I think when you say role model, it should be a little more serious.
A little more.
Now, if I want inspiring to be an actress or a singer or something like that, then she's going to be your role model. But if you're going to aspire to be something different, then maybe it wouldn't be Beyonce. Maybe it would be another type of person. See, I think our role models come from the occupation we pursue.
Okay.
And yours, it would be the Oprahs.
Oprah, Tavis Smiley.
Yeah, those type of folks, yeah.
So this leads me into our next question. Do you think actresses and just entertainers in general, we see a lot more of them in the public eye, especially around this season with elections, and they're supporting politicians. Back in the day, it was you're neutral. You don't have a voice. Because you don't want to piss off one audience or the other. You want to be mainstream and everybody love you. Now we see people being vocal.
Yeah, I think that has a lot to do with the times that we're living in, the gadgets. The phones, the cells, the texting, the cameras, everywhere.
At their
everywhere.
Yeah.
Elevators. So when you can't hide like you used to. You're very much more public. Even the average citizen is more in the public now than they would want to be because of all our technology. So I think that's what changed a whole lot of that. And then I also think that we got to a point where we realized we didn't have to be quiet. It was okay to voice our opinion because we're human just like everybody else, and some of them caught on to that.
Absolutely.
So.
Pharrell describes the new black as when we don't blame other races for our issues. It's not about pigmentation, it's about mentality. Remaining connected to your roots without being strangled by them. Do you agree?
I agree. I like that.
Yes.
I do like that because I don't think we hold ourselves accountable like we should sometimes. I'm a neighborhood association president of a neighborhood association, and when I'm dealing with my neighbors and with the people who own the homes in my neighborhood, we know who's breaking into each other's home, each other's car and all that, and sometimes we don't say nothing.
Wow.
It could be my guest. When my nephew came over and visited me, and then while my neighbor was at work, he went over there and broke in her house. I know that. Why didn't I hold my nephew accountable? But no, that's family. Or snitches get stitches, and we have all that silly stuff going on when we need to hold each other accountable, and then we'll find out maybe the police ain't in our neighborhood so much because that crime is not there because we're taking care of ourselves. And that's how some neighborhood associations actually are. Some are stronger than others. But we have to get to a point to where we are holding and requiring, it's our responsibility. We have a responsibility that we owe to our children and to the safety of our neighborhoods to do the right thing.
I think people would tell more if the response were better, because we live in a time where the mom gets mad for telling you about her son or her daughter or what they did.
Sure.
So I think that's when we become mute. I don't know if it's, snitches get stitches as it used to be back in the day. I think more is that you don't want to deal with the...
Right. Yeah, you be quiet and have, you call that peace, but it really isn't. It's a false peace. Yeah, okay, you didn't tell, or you saw it and you didn't witness, but it's still on your mind. It's still happening in your neighborhood. The crime is still taking place. So I think until people learn to hold other people and hold themselves. See, me telling on my nephew for doing something, I'm holding myself accountable as well. And then pretty soon the reputation is it's not tolerated here. That's not tolerated over here. We're not going to accept it. Then things get better.
I believe it.
So I think that's what has to happen.
It takes that
the new black is, to me, holding ourselves accountable and being responsible for our actions. Yes, there's things that happen every day in life, But we have to hold ourselves accountable and be honest about it. You know, even if it turns out to be a bad situation, you know, it is what it is.
It is what it is.
Yes.
What would you tell your 16-year-old self?
That life ain't gonna be easy, but good can win. You know, because I think throughout my early years, I always thought, God, it's easier to go bad and have an easier time than to try to do the right thing. I'm gonna go ahead and follow the crowd. So I would tell my 16-year-old, tell my 16-year-old self, do the right thing, no matter how hard. It gets better.
Oh, I needed to hear that. Because being in the entertainment industry, it's easier to step on somebody else's neck to get to that next, success.
Sure.
It's not hard to be dignified, and because most of the people who actually thrive in this industry did not get there off of merits.
Cutthroat.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hear you.
So sometimes I find myself questioning, what would I do? What wouldn't I do? What can I live with? So.
Well, I think when people, skill. If you are into something that requires a skill, a lot of times you can't afford to be cutthroat. But if it's something that doesn't require skill but requires charisma, or something that just turns people on, oh yeah, you can definitely walk on some people and move up quickly.
Yes. Yes. In a
So.
time of reality television,
Right.
Anybody can basically move up.
Sure.
You can get 1 million views on YouTube and suddenly you're a star.
Yeah.
So it is very.
If you got what's on demand and what people are demanding, you're going to be that star. You're
Absolutely.
Right.
What would you say that black people aren't getting? Like, we just haven't got it yet. Like, we've been on the same thing for 50, 60 years and we still have not got it.
I think the biggest thing that can come to my mind is that we don't get is that we have to quit meeting. To me, when I think of African Americans in the black community, we meet, we go to church, but I think we have to turn that into action sometime. And action is okay, but it's the actions that you do that changes things, not the meetings. It's what are you going to do about it, not just get together and talk about it.
Right.
So that's what, to me, we're not getting. We're not getting enough action out of our leaders. And Obama, largest position in the country. He could do a lot more action.
A lot more.
But he worries about what, and then he says, I'm president for all people, and, and those type of things, so that makes him pull back. But if he would do some of those actions, we would be better off.
What do you think other races have yet to get or comprehend?
An understanding of what it's like to be African American in this society. That if you watch kids have no idea. I'm serious. They'll just play and I was a Cub Scout master. Those boys had no clue. But then as they grow and get taught, that's when it comes in. So not just the other races, but us, we have to learn to leave them alone. And they will be all right. Just watch babies. Just watch them. They'll just go and have no clue until somebody tells them they're different. And then starts, passing that stuff on. This is why I think you see a lot more the mixture of society and the mixture of cultures, because the older races like that have died off. And these younger generations are more accepting.